If you have ever started a story and felt like people were zoning out, or maybe you finished a talk and you got like the applause, but no one bought in, this session is for you. Let me tell you, by the end of this, I'm going to show you how to engage your audience in 10 seconds flat, because the truth is, your first few lines decide whether people lean in or just start scrolling their phones. By the end of this training, I'm going to show you how you can take your next talk, presentation, social post, and get people to instantly care. So let's go ahead and dive in. Now, by the end of this, you are going to learn why people lean in instantly. Like, what is it that makes them want to learn more? You're also going to learn the number one mistake that kills an audience's connection. And stay till the end, and I'm going to share with you like kind of a plug and play formula to start any story that you begin to tell. So let's get into it. The very first thing that we need to know is what gets our audience to lean in when we start telling a story. And that is, my friends, emotion plus curiosity. Now, you might want to dive straight into the information, but information doesn't get people to connect. It is that story. Appeal to their emotions, pique their curiosity. And whatever you do, don't start with the bio. No one cares about your resume. They want to know why they should listen to you. And you're going to do that through emotion and curiosity. So you want to start with the moment, not the message. So I've given you an example here, and let's talk about the wrong way first. The wrong way could be, so I was at a speaking event the other day and I was super nervous, but people were getting me ready and they introduced me and I went on stage and instantly the lights went out. That gave too much information. Instead, my first line is just going to be, the lights went out halfway through my keynote and I immediately panicked. Like, notice there in that example, I'm creating immediate tension. People like tension. They like a little drama. So let's give them drama when we immediately start our stories. So here's another example where instead I might start off by using a relatable setup that mirrors someone else's reality. So here we go. You know that moment when you're presenting and they have already checked out? So again, notice what I did here. I gave you some tension. I've given you a relatable example. Instead of saying, so I was at this speaking gig and I was presenting on how to talk to engage your audience. And as soon as I started my story, everyone checked out. Yes, that's relatable because some people might be able to connect with that. However, I don't need to give all that information. Instead, I'm just going to be like, you know that feeling when? You know that moment when? Those are relatable. So as you're telling a story, be sure that you're using moments that mirror someone else's experience. Now, here's one of my favorites. You could also drop a contrast. And what I mean by that is using phrases like, I used to do this, but now I do this. I used to think this, but now I know this. Or I once believed, but now I know. Those are great ways to get people to think and immediately start getting curious. So, example, I used to think that great speakers were born confident. I was wrong. Notice that if a speaker, an expert on a stage, starts off with I was wrong, man, I'm going to want to like, oh my gosh, what were you wrong about? And now you're on the stage teaching us. What was it that drew others in. So that curiosity is going to pique people's interests. So those are some things that I really want you to hone in on when it comes to what draws an audience in. It's those three things immediately. Now, let's talk about the number one mistake. The number one mistake that kills audience connection is making your story about yourself, not the audience. Now, what is true is that your story did happen to you, but it's about the audience. I often will have clients that come to me with beautiful stories. Everyone has a story. We know that everyone has a great story. But here's the kicker. If your intention is for your audience to opt into something with you or attend an event or purchase a product, anything like that, you cannot disqualify or isolate your entire audience with a traumatic story that is unique to you. I'm going to say that again. Your story that you use to hook in your audience cannot just be unique to you. You need to know your audience. And so really consider those universal stories that you know will connect to everyone. It can be a time that you were afraid, a time that you laughed uncontrollably, a time that you were lost, a time that you were frustrated. All of those things are very relatable. It's and I have clients that want to start with their big traumatic story, but we don't want to disqualify people, because in those moments your audience might lean in with empathy, but if they don't see themselves in the story, then they're not going to see the connection between your services, your products, or how you can help them. So make your story about your audience. If not, that's the fastest way that you're going to lose them. So here's the kicker. Every story should answer, why does this matter to me? So I want you to think of this for a second. Have you ever attended a conference, a networking event, a learning opportunity where you immediately zoned out because you're like, oh, this doesn't apply to me? I know I have, especially as a former educator. I've sat through thousands of PDs and I was like, oh, this doesn't apply. So I zoned out. But if you want your audience to lean in, don't disqualify them. Your story, your hook needs to relate to their pain. Shift from, here's what's happened to me, because remember, your story is about you, to, here's what this means for you now. So yes, this happened to me, but I'm connecting it to you, and this is what it means for you. And so you can do this by using audience-centered phrases. You've probably been there too. Maybe this sounds familiar. Have you ever? Go back and watch the beginning of this video. I start off with, have you ever told a story and your audience immediately lost interest? If you have, this is for you. So the way that you hook them in is helping your audience see how your story relates to their problem. Now, the best openings do these three things. They, one, create curiosity. Two, they spark some sort of emotion. That can be laughter, fear, sadness, anything like that. But it also connects to your core premise. And when I say core premise, I want you to think of it as like the thesis of your talk. What is the one thing that you are going to prove in your talk? What is the one thing that you're going to show or demonstrate, get your audience to think, see, and feel? So whenever you're going back and crafting your next presentation, whether it's a small presentation or a big presentation, I want you to see if your story at the start does one of these three things, does all these three things: creates curiosity, sparks emotion, and connects to your core premise. So I told you earlier that I was going to give you a formula for crafting your next opening line. So here it is. One, You're going to start with your trigger line. We'll get into that in a second. Trigger line plus an unexpected detail or plot twist. And then finally, the hint at the transformation. Now, this might not all happen in 6 seconds. I mean, not 6, 10 seconds. Your trigger line is actually going to be your 10 seconds. But your story needs to have those unexpected details, plot twists, or a hint at a transformation. So let's look at this particular opening line. 2 minutes before I walked on stage, I spilled coffee all over my white blouse. That's my trigger. That's the drama. Even if you want to like switch trigger line with a drama line, that's my drama line. But that moment taught me more about confidence than any speech ever could. Notice how, and I'm going to go back right here. It says that's the unexpected detail or twist. But that moment taught me something. And then hint at the transformation. It taught me about confidence that I never would have learned before. So I'm showing you like, oh, I'm going to teach you something about confidence on getting on stage. So I really want you to see what I'm doing here in just one line, how I am helping engage an audience. So let's look at another example. If you've ever had a story flop and thought, what did I do wrong? This one's for you. Automatically, you see a problem in here. You are connecting to it. You're like, oh yeah, I've done that before. And so really, how are you creating that emotion and resonating with your audience? Get them curious. Because if a speaker came on stage, and someone as a speaker, I'm a speaker. So if they started this, one, I know that I've experienced this, but two, they're also telling me, oh, they're going to show me how to fix it by saying this one is for you. So these are just 3 tips that, we're just barely scratching the surface when it comes to storytelling. But hopefully these 3 tips were helpful to you as you're navigating that. But I'm going to tell you right now, it takes a little more guidance, a little more work. And that is exactly why I created the Engage workshop, where we are going to develop captivating stories that convert. During this workshop, I'm going to show you how to build a story bank so that you can plug and play different stories. You don't have to use the same one over and over again, but you're going to leave with a story bank that you can use for any talk in the present or future. We are going to craft hooks that grab your audience's attention. We're going to workshop those hooks. We're going to have some hot seat moments where we actually workshop some of those hooks to see if they're engaging and actually create curiosity and evoke those emotions. And we're going to turn your stories into content. We're going to see how to take our stories, turn them into content so that you can use them for social media, for your email list, for your next speaking engagements, whatever it is. So I want to invite you into the Engage workshop. It's happening on November 6th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Central Time. And let me tell you, you are not going to want to miss this. So if you want to learn more, click the notes in the show notes, because that is going to show you how you can be a part of this wonderful opportunity. I hope this was helpful, my friends, and I can't wait to hear your stories. Get online, tell your stories, practice them, and share them with me. Tag me in your social media so I can see your stories. And until next time, I'll see you later.